I've always been curious. I love that screen persona you have. Congratulations on Roadhouse.
Thank you.
You guys got a big hit.
Sam Elliott, the man, the mustache, the legend. We know him for his gravelly voice and gritty charm.
See ya. See you.
Who is that guy? Gentlemen? Wade Garrett.
Exactly right.
Roadhouse made him an icon we still admire today. But what if we told you there was a secret? One he kept hidden through every kick, every punch, and every iconic line. Something was happening on that set that nobody talked about. Until now. It wasn't written in the script, but it shaped his performance in ways fans only discovered years later. And it changes how you see the film forever. The birth of a barroom legend. Before we get to that secret, we need to understand how this legendary film came to be. Because the story behind Roadhouse is just as wild as the movie itself. And trust us, once we get into the details, everything about this film will make so much more sense. It all started with a screenwriter named David Lee Henry. One night, he walked into a small-town bar and had absolutely no idea that Visit would change cinema history forever. The place was rough. The people were rougher. There was an energy in that bar that you simply could not fake. Real fights breaking out, real tension hanging in the air, real characters who looked like they had lived 1,000 hard lives and survived every single one of them. Henry soaked it all in like a sponge. He watched the bouncers handle trouble with calm precision. He saw how one composed man could control an entire room full of chaos with nothing but his presence. And right there, sitting at that sticky bar counter, surrounded by cigarette smoke and broken dreams, the idea for Roadhouse was born. Now, here is something most people never realize. The character of Dalton was not some random name pulled from thin air by a Hollywood writer. It came from the actual town where that bar was located, Dalton, Georgia. This real-life connection gave the film something that most action movies of that era completely lacked: authenticity. When audiences watched Roadhouse, they felt like they were stepping into a real place with real people. That small-town bar atmosphere was not created on some fancy Hollywood soundstage. It was borrowed directly from reality. The grime was real. The danger was real. The feeling that anything could happen at any moment was absolutely real. Here is a piece of trivia that will blow your mind. Roadhouse shares a filming location with another iconic 80s movie. Remember 48 Hours? The film that launched Eddie Murphy into superstardom? Those garages where Dalton parks his Mercedes are the exact same garages used for Reggie Hammond's car in 48 Hours. But great locations and a solid script were only the beginning of this incredible journey. What really set Roadhouse apart from every other action movie of its time was what happened when the cameras started rolling. Because behind those cameras stood a martial arts legend who was about to transform ordinary barroom brawls into something audiences had absolutely never seen before. Something that would change action cinema forever. The art of the fight. If you have ever watched Roadhouse and thought those fight scenes felt completely different from other action movies, you were absolutely right. They were different, remarkably different. And there is one man responsible for that revolutionary approach to on-screen combat. His name was Benny Urquidez. They called him the Jet. And he was not just any martial artist walking around Hollywood looking for work. This was a man who had worked side by side with Jackie Chan himself. A man who understood deep in his bones that fighting on screen was not simply about throwing punches and hoping they looked good. It was about telling a story with your body. Every movement had meaning. Every strike carried weight. Urquidez brought something to Roadhouse that changed absolutely everything about how the film would look and feel. He blended real martial arts techniques with the raw, chaotic energy of actual barroom brawls. The result was unlike anything audiences had ever witnessed on the big screen. This was not the clean, choreographed fighting of traditional kung fu movies where every move looked perfect and rehearsed. This was messy and brutal and beautiful all at the same time. It felt real because it was designed to feel real. Every punch landed with impact. Every kick connected with purpose. But here is what made Roadhouse truly special and separated it from every other action film of that era. The actors were doing their own stunts. Let that sink in for a moment. This was not a production where the stars stood back safely while stunt doubles took all the hits and did all the dangerous work. Patrick Swayze threw himself into intense kickboxing training for months before filming began. He wanted every single punch to look real because he was actually throwing them. He wanted every kick to connect because he was actually kicking. There was no fakery here. No camera tricks to hide the fact that someone else was doing the hard work. Swayze's incredible commitment created high-energy real action scenes that hooked audiences from the very first frame and never let go. You could feel the impact of every hit deep in your chest. You could see the sweat pouring down faces. You could sense the strain in every muscle. It was not acting in the traditional sense. It was athletes performing at their absolute peak, while cameras captured every breathtaking moment. Urquidez's contribution helped cement Roadhouse as a completely unique mix of martial arts and pure Americana. The fighting style was accessible to casual viewers, yet exciting enough to impress martial arts enthusiasts. You did not need to understand complex fighting techniques to appreciate what was happening on screen. But if you did know martial arts, you could see the technical brilliance hiding just beneath the surface chaos. His work set a standard for action films that would influence every barroom brawl scene for decades to come. Every fight in every movie made after Roadhouse owes something to what Benny the Jet created on that incredible set. Yet for all the punches thrown and kicks landed and bodies hitting the floor, there was one actor on that set who carried something hidden, something secret that affected every single scene he filmed. Sam Elliott's mysterious secret was there through it all, unseen by the cameras, unknown to the audience, but profoundly impactful to everyone who worked alongside him. Secrets, sacrifices, and Sam Elliott. Now we come to the heart of this incredible story. Sam Elliott and the secret he carried through every single day of filming Roadhouse. His portrayal of Wade Garrett was something genuinely special. When you watch him on screen, you see so much more than just a bouncer helping out an old friend. You see the spirit of the Old West brought to life in a modern setting. His character possessed a quiet strength and hard-earned wisdom that reminded audiences of classic Western heroes from decades past. Elliot was not just playing a role. He was channeling something deeper. Wade Garrett was a man protecting the underdog while navigating the murky, dangerous waters of a corrupt town. Sound familiar? It should. Because the filmmakers knew exactly what they were doing when they named his character. Wade Garrett was a subtle but deliberate nod to Sheriff Pat Garrett, the legendary lawman of the Old West who became famous for killing Billy the Kid. This Western connection added incredible layers to Elliott's already nuanced performance. It connected Roadhouse to his roots in Western films and introduced a timeless cowboy mystique that elevated the entire movie. The screenplay hinted at Garrett's past without spelling it out directly. Audiences could sense there were untold stories behind that rugged exterior. Battles fought, losses endured, Wisdom earned the hard way. Elliot delivered all of this through subtle performance choices that most actors could never pull off. And through it all, he kept his secret carefully hidden from everyone around him. What was he dealing with behind the scenes? What weight was he carrying that nobody else could see? That mystery added yet another layer to his already deeply compelling performance. We could sense something was different about Elliot on this set, something that made his work even more powerful. Patrick Swayze had his own tremendous sacrifices to make for this film. The things he gave up for Roadhouse would shock most people. Starring in this movie meant turning down major Hollywood opportunities that most actors would have jumped at without hesitation. He was offered the role of Gabriel Cash in Tango and Cash. This was a big-budget action comedy that seemed destined for success. That part eventually went to Kurt Russell and became another notch on his impressive career belt. But Swayze said no. He was committed to Roadhouse and absolutely refused to abandon it for any other project, no matter how tempting. Then came the injuries. Swayze pushed himself so incredibly hard during filming that his body started breaking down. He needed a lengthy recovery period just to function normally again. This made him completely unavailable for another major role that came calling. Lieutenant Michael R. Harrigan in Predator 2. Can you imagine Swayze hunting aliens through the streets of Los Angeles? We almost got to see exactly that. But the injuries from Roadhouse made it impossible. That part went to Danny Glover instead. And the rest is cinema history. Think about that for a moment. Swayze gave up roles in 2 potential franchise films because of his dedication to Roadhouse. He chose this barroom brawl movie over big-budget action spectacles with guaranteed sequels. These decisions showed just how much the actors truly believed in this project. They were not just showing up for a paycheck and going through the motions. They were pouring absolutely everything they had into creating something memorable and lasting. Speaking of decisions that changed everything about this film, there was a casting choice made during production that completely transformed Roadhouse into something entirely different. A choice that came down to one simple but crucial thing: chemistry that changed everything. Here is a piece of Hollywood history that almost nobody ever talks about. A story that shows just how important the right casting choices truly are. Roadhouse was supposed to have a completely different female lead. The movie we know and love almost looked entirely different. Annette Bening was originally cast to play Dr. Elizabeth Clay. She was set to be the emotional heart of the entire film, the love interest who would ground Dalton and give audiences someone to root for beyond just the spectacular fights and action sequences. But something was not working. The magic just was not there. Patrick Swayze felt deep in his gut that he could not generate the necessary chemistry with Bening. Now, this was an incredibly bold move for any actor to make. Bening was immensely talented. She would go on to prove that many times over throughout her remarkable career. But Swayze knew instinctively that without real, genuine chemistry, the romantic subplot would fall completely flat. The romance between Dalton and Doc was not just a side story. It was essential to making audiences care about what happened to these characters. Without that emotional connection, Roadhouse would have been just another forgettable action movie with great fights, but nothing underneath. Swayze understood this, and he spoke up about his concerns. So they made the change that would define the film. Kelly Lynch came in to play Doc, and from the very first moment, everything clicked into place, like it was always meant to be. Lynch brought a completely new energy that perfectly balanced Swayze's rugged masculinity. Her performance was layered with both strength and tenderness in equal measure. She created a wonderfully complex character who could absolutely hold her own amid the barroom chaos, while also providing genuine emotional depth to Dalton's journey. She was not just a love interest. She was a fully realized human being with her own story and her own strength. The chemistry between Lynch and Swayze was not just good casting, it was pure magic captured on film. During the production, they developed a genuine rapport that translated directly into every single one of their performances together. Their scenes had an intimacy and authenticity that you simply cannot fake, no matter how skilled an actor might be. Watch those pivotal moments where Doc supports Dalton through his physical and emotional battles. Really pay attention to the way they look at each other. You can see the mutual respect and affection between the characters shining through. That was real. That came from the genuine connection the actors built on set through weeks of working together and trusting each other. Now here is the beautiful twist in this casting story that proves Hollywood works in mysterious ways. Losing the Roadhouse role was not a setback for Annette Bening at all. Quite the opposite, actually. Shortly after departing the project, she landed a lead role in The Grifters. That film earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress and launched her into a whole new level of stardom. One door closes and another opens. Both actresses ended up exactly where they were meant to be. Kelly Lynch became the perfect Doc for Roadhouse.
What was it like on the set of Roadhouse?
It was fantastic. I mean, it was one of the best times I've ever had. First of all, Sam Elliott and Patrick Swayze.
Annette Bening found her Oscar-worthy role. Everyone won in the end. But Kelly Lynch was not the type of actress who simply showed up on set and performed her lines from the script. She embarked on an extraordinary journey of preparation that would take her deep into a world completely removed from barroom brawls and action sequences. And when she finally arrived on set, fully prepared and ready to perform, she faced an ironic twist that absolutely nobody saw coming. Dedication beyond the script. Kelly Lynch understood something fundamental that separates good actors from truly great ones. Authenticity cannot be faked. No amount of acting skill can substitute for genuine knowledge and experience. If you want to play a doctor convincingly, you need to understand what doctors actually do in their daily lives. So she did something remarkable. She completely immersed herself in the medical world. Lynch spent significant time in real hospital settings, shadowing actual doctors and nurses as they went about their demanding work. She watched them handle emergencies with calm precision. She learned their routines and rituals. She absorbed the immense emotional weight of a profession where life and death decisions happen every single day. This was not some quick visit where an actress watches a few procedures. Lynch went far deeper. She studied bedside manner and how doctors communicate with patients. Complex medical terminology, the way physicians move with purpose and confidence, how they make critical decisions under pressure. She wanted her portrayal to be completely genuine, not just an act that audiences would see through, but a real reflection of what physicians actually experience in their demanding careers. In a 2008 interview, Lynch revealed something truly remarkable about her preparation. She dedicated an entire month to learning medical procedures. 1 full month of intensive study and practice. This included learning exactly how to stitch wounds properly with surgical precision. She wanted every single moment on screen to feel absolutely real and believable. And here comes the ironic twist that perfectly captures the unpredictable nature of filmmaking. After all that intensive training, after spending an entire month learning to stitch wounds with the precision of an actual surgeon, when it finally came time to film the medical scene, the production team had her use a stapler instead. That is the movie business. All that preparation, all that commitment, and the practical needs of shooting changed everything. But Lynch's commitment was not wasted. Her preparation showed in every other moment of her remarkable performance. The calm presence she brought to chaotic scenes, her confident, purposeful movements around injured characters, The way she navigated medical situations with complete believability that made audiences trust her character completely. All of that came from her month of real-world training. Patrick Swayze had his own story of dedication written on his body. During one intense stunt, he sustained an injury requiring a bandage on his abdomen. Rather than stop filming, he covered the bandage with Dalton's now iconic tank top. That practical wardrobe choice, born purely from necessity, became an essential part of the character's visual identity. Try to picture Dalton without that tank top now. You simply cannot do it. It became completely symbolic of his toughness and refusal to quit. And it all came from Swayze's absolute refusal to let an injury stop the production even for a single day. There was another challenge Swayze faced that had nothing to do with stunts. After Dirty Dancing made him a global heartthrob, fans could not stay away. Female admirers invaded the set constantly, trying to catch a glimpse of him. The security team had their hands full keeping production running, but Swayze handled it with remarkable professionalism. He never let fame affect his performance. That ability to stay focused when everything exploded around him might be why he was perfect for Dalton. A man who maintains composure when the world goes crazy. While Swayze and Lynch poured themselves completely into their roles, there was another action star who almost joined them on screen. A martial arts legend who came in to audition but walked away without landing a part. And strangely, his memory of the entire experience eventually faded into Hollywood mystery. The Lost Hours and Hidden Talents. The making of Roadhouse is absolutely filled with surprises that most audiences never hear about. And one of the biggest involves an action star who almost changed the entire dynamic of the film we know and love. Steven Seagal auditioned for Roadhouse. Yes, that's Steven Seagal, the martial arts master who would go on to become one of the biggest action stars of the entire era, came in to read for a role in this very film. He did not get the part. And here is the strangest thing about this whole story. Seagal himself has openly admitted in interviews that he cannot even remember which role he actually tried out for. Let that sink in for a moment. A film so absolutely packed with memorable characters that even the actors who auditioned lost track of what they were originally going for. Picture for a moment an alternate universe where Seagal shared the screen with Swayze and Elliott. The martial arts firepower would have been unbelievable, but the casting worked out exactly the way it was meant to be. The chemistry between the final cast created something special that might have been different with other actors involved. Speaking of hidden talents that surprised audiences, most people do not realize that Patrick Swayze was much more than just an incredibly talented actor. The man was a genuine, accomplished musician with real songwriting skills. In Dirty Dancing, he personally wrote and performed the hit song "She's Like the Wind." That soulful, emotional ballad became a massive hit and showed audiences a completely different side of Swayze that they had never seen before. He was not just a pretty face who could dance and throw punches. He was a true artist with multiple talents. He brought that same remarkable musical talent to Roadhouse. Swayze personally contributed 2 original songs to the soundtrack, Cliff's Edge and Raising Heaven and Hell Tonight. These tracks enhanced the film's rugged tone perfectly and added another dimension that most action movies simply never have. His music gave audiences a chance to experience his artistry far beyond the on-screen brawls and romance. It was unexpected. It was genuinely impressive. And it made Roadhouse something much more than just another forgettable action flick from the 80s. Now here is something that will absolutely blow your mind if you are a true fan of this film. The Roadhouse we know and love today is only part of the story that was originally filmed. The original cut of the film was nearly 3.5 hours long. Sam Elliott himself confirmed this remarkable fact in interviews. The first complete version of Roadhouse ran 3 hours and 20 minutes. Let that number really sink in for a moment. That means over a third of the entire movie ended up on the cutting room floor, never to be seen by audiences. Additional character arcs that were fully filmed, extended subplots that developed the world further, scenes we have never seen and may never see. All of it carefully removed to create the tight 114-minute final cut that audiences experienced in theaters. The editing process was absolutely extensive, but ultimately necessary. Pacing matters tremendously in storytelling. That longer original cut might have contained amazing material that would thrill fans. But the shorter version kept audiences completely engaged from start to finish without a single slow moment. The marketing team knew exactly what they had in Patrick Swayze, and they exploited it brilliantly. They created a tagline that perfectly bridged his two most famous roles. "The dancing's over. Now it gets dirty." This clever line connected Dirty Dancing fans directly to this new, grittier Swayze, while promising something completely different and more intense. Brilliant marketing that attracted both existing devoted fans and completely new audiences who wanted to see what the heartthrob could do when things got rough. Despite all this incredible talent and total dedication and marketing genius working together, critics were actually not convinced when Roadhouse first hit theaters. The reviews were decidedly mixed. But something remarkable was about to happen. Something that would transform a mixed review release into an absolutely immortal piece of cinema history. From mixed reviews to immortal legacy. When Roadhouse opened in theaters in 1989, the critics were sharply divided in their opinions. Some recognized the brilliance hiding in plain sight. They praised the action sequences as some of the best ever filmed. They acknowledged Swayze's incredibly charismatic performance that carried the entire movie. They saw the raw energy and total commitment on screen. Others were far less kind. They criticized the plot as too simple. They picked apart the dialogue looking for flaws. They treated Roadhouse as just another dumb action movie, not worthy of serious consideration. The box office results were not exactly spectacular either. Roadhouse was not the massive blockbuster that some studio executives had hoped for. By typical Hollywood measurements focused purely on opening weekend numbers, it could easily have been considered a disappointing failure. But then something unexpected happened after the theatrical run ended. Something that the critics and studio executives had never predicted. People kept watching. They rented it repeatedly on video from their local stores. They caught it on cable television late at night and could not look away. They showed it enthusiastically to friends who had somehow never seen it. Word spread from person to person. The fan base grew larger with each passing year. Roadhouse became a genuine cult classic. And here is the fascinating thing. It achieved this status not despite its flaws, but somehow because of them. Audiences absolutely loved the over-the-top moments that critics had mocked. They quoted the dialogue that reviewers had dismissed as silly. They celebrated everything that made this particular film completely unique. The enduring popularity speaks to something the critics completely missed in their rush to judgment. Roadhouse was never trying to be high art. It was never attempting to win Academy Awards or impress film scholars. It was trying to be entertaining, pure and simple. And it succeeded at that goal beyond anyone's wildest expectations. The legacy extended beyond home video. In 2006, a direct-to-video sequel arrived. It lacked the original's charm and starring cast. The story focused on Dalton's son, rather than the beloved character himself. It was a pale imitation, but proof that Roadhouse still meant something. More surprising was the off-Broadway musical adaptation. Yes, Roadhouse became a stage show, and it worked better than anyone expected. The story translated to live performance in ways that captured new audiences. There were talks of a 2016 reboot starring wrestler Ronda Rousey. Though that reboot stalled, the interest proved the film's lasting cultural power. Looking back at everything we have covered, it becomes clear that Roadhouse transcends typical 80s action movie status.
Amazon has rounded out the cast of the Jake Gyllenhaal-led Roadhouse remake. Gyllenhaal will star in the remake of the 1989 Patrick Swayze cult classic, playing a former UFC fighter who takes a job as a bouncer at a rough-and-tumble roadhouse in the Florida Keys.
The hidden secrets, the behind-the-scenes stories, the casting choices, the real-life inspirations, all of it weaves together into something genuinely special. The film resonates with audiences not just for thrilling barroom brawls, but for the heart and authenticity the cast brought to their roles. From casting changes that improved the film to the chemistry that blossomed on set. From meticulous fight choreography to the hidden injuries actors pushed through. Every element contributed to its timeless appeal. Patrick Swayze's surprise musical contributions added unexpected depth and dimension. Sam Elliott's understated Western soul gave the film a gravitas it could never have achieved otherwise. Kelly Lynch's incredibly dedicated preparation made her character feel completely real and believable. Benny Urquidez's revolutionary choreography set entirely new standards for action filmmaking that influenced countless movies to come. The clever nods to Western lore and that absolutely unforgettable tagline elevated Roadhouse far beyond mere action flick territory. These unique, fascinating elements transformed it into a genuine cultural touchstone that devoted fans continue celebrating enthusiastically decades after its original release. Ultimately, Roadhouse stands as proof of what happens when talented people believe in a project. Shared vision, passion, dedication. These forces combine to create a cinematic experience that captivates generations. And somewhere in Hollywood's archives, over 2 hours of never-before-seen Roadhouse footage remains hidden. Additional scenes, extended fights, character moments that never made the final cut, waiting for the day it might finally see the light. The legend of Roadhouse continues to grow with each passing year. And now we know the untold stories that made it all possible. The secrets that were hidden. The sacrifices that were made willingly. The dedication that turned a simple barroom brawl movie into an immortal piece of cinema history that will never be forgotten. Sam Elliott kept his secret hidden through every scene he filmed. Patrick Swayze gave up blockbuster opportunities and pushed through painful injuries without complaint. Kelly Lynch spent an entire month learning medical procedures only to end up using a stapler on camera. Benny Urquidez created fight choreography that fundamentally changed how action cinema would look forever after. These are the stories that never made the headlines. The human moments behind the on-screen magic. The next time we watch Roadhouse, we will see it differently. We will notice the Western references in Elliott's performance. We will appreciate every punch Swayze threw, knowing he was doing it himself. We will understand why the chemistry between the leads feels so genuine. Knowing this hidden truth, does Roadhouse feel different to you now? Share your thoughts in the comments.